What if I told you there's a single plant that in just one handful of leaves delivers more iron than a beefsteak, more calcium than a glass of milk, and more vitamin A than a full plate of carrots? Not a pill, not a powder, not a laboratory creation, a living plant with roots in the ground. Nutritional scientists have studied this plant for decades. International health organizations have used it to reverse malnutrition in children across 3 continents. And yet most people watching this video have never grown one, never cooked with one, and barely know its name. By the end of this video, that changes. You'll know exactly what this plant is, what the real science says about it, and whether you can grow it wherever you live right now. Welcome to Famine Plant Secrets, where we uncover the world's most extraordinary plants, the forgotten crops, the rare seeds, and the nutritional powerhouses that most people have never heard of. Every week we go deep on one remarkable plant. Real science, real growing information, no exaggeration needed. Because the truth about these plants is already incredible enough. If that sounds like your kind of channel, hit subscribe and the bell so you never miss one. Now let's get into this plant, because the numbers are genuinely remarkable. The plant is Moringa oleifera, also called the drumstick tree because of its long, slender seed pods, the horseradish tree because of its spicy roots, and across much of Africa and South Asia, simply the miracle tree. Moringa has been cultivated by humans for over 5,000 years. Ancient Egyptians valued it so highly they placed moringa oil in the tombs of their pharaohs. They considered it precious enough to accompany their kings into the afterlife. Roman soldiers carried moringa leaf paste on long military campaigns as a concentrated energy and nutrition source. Ancient Indian Ayurvedic medicine documented over 300 uses for different parts of the moringa tree. Across India, the Philippines, West Africa, and throughout Southeast Asia, moringa has been a daily food source and traditional remedy for generations. It is woven into the food culture of billions of people. And yet somehow, most people in the Western world have never grown one, never cooked with one, and have no idea what they've been missing. Today we fix that. Let's start with the nutrition, because this is where moringa genuinely earns every bit of its reputation. All figures I'm sharing are based on fresh moringa leaves per 100 grams. This is the same standard used to compare all foods, so you can trust these comparisons are fair and accurate. Let's start with protein. Fresh moringa leaves contain around 7 grams of protein per 100 grams. That's more than fresh eggs, more than yogurt, comparable to many cuts of meat. But the quantity of protein is only half the story. The real headline is the quality. Moringa contains all 9 essential amino acids, the ones your body cannot produce on its own and must get from food. That makes it a complete protein. In the plant world, complete proteins are extraordinarily rare. Moringa is one of very few plants that qualifies. Now iron. Fresh moringa leaves contain approximately 4 milligrams of iron per 100 grams. A comparable portion of beef contains around 2.6 milligrams. Gram for gram, moringa actually delivers more iron than beef. And because moringa naturally contains vitamin C alongside that iron, your body absorbs it more efficiently than iron from many other sources. Calcium. Fresh moringa leaves contain around 440 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams. Whole milk contains about 120 milligrams per 100 grams. Moringa has roughly 3.5 times more calcium than milk. For people whose bodies don't absorb dairy calcium efficiently, and that's a significant portion of the global population, moringa's plant-based calcium can actually be a more effective source. Vitamin A. This is where moringa becomes almost difficult to believe. Fresh moringa leaves contain around 7,500 micrograms of beta-carotene per 100 grams. Carrots, the food everyone associates with vitamin A, contain about 835 micrograms. Moringa delivers nearly 9 times more vitamin A activity than carrots. 9 times. That's not a rounding error. That's a different league entirely. Vitamin C. Fresh moringa leaves contain about 51 milligrams per 100 grams. Oranges contain about 53 milligrams. Essentially identical. But an orange is primarily vitamin C and sugar. Moringa gives you the same vitamin C plus complete protein, iron, calcium, vitamin A, and everything else we just covered. Potassium. Moringa contains around 337 milligrams per 100 grams. Bananas contain about 358 milligrams. Again, essentially equal. but bananas are potassium and sugar. Moringa is potassium plus the entire nutritional profile we just walked through. Do you see the pattern? Every food we compared is celebrated for one thing: beef for protein, spinach for iron, milk for calcium, carrots for vitamin A, oranges for vitamin C. Moringa matches or exceeds all of them simultaneously in a single plant. Nutritional scientists have a specific term for this. They call it a multi-nutrient-dense food. Plants that qualify for that classification are extraordinarily rare. Moringa sits at the very top of that list. One plant, one handful of leaves, more nutritional breadth than almost anything else you could put on your plate. That's not marketing. That's published food science. This isn't folk medicine or internet wellness culture. Moringa has been formally studied by universities, government research institutions, and international health organizations for decades. The World Health Organization and multiple international NGOs have incorporated moringa leaf powder into nutritional intervention programs across sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, specifically targeting malnutrition in young children and nursing mothers. A study published in the Journal of Food Science and Technology found that regular consumption of moringa leaves produced significant improvements in iron levels and healthy weight gain in malnourished children over a 60-day period. Research from the University of the Philippines found that moringa performed comparably to standard iron supplements in improving hemoglobin levels in subjects with iron deficiency anemia. Not similar, comparable. A leaf from a tree performing on par with a pharmaceutical supplement. Now, to be completely clear, we are not making medical claims here. Moringa is a food, an extraordinarily nutritious food, and the science shows that eating it as part of a balanced diet supports good health outcomes. That is the honest version of what the research says. And the honest version is still remarkable. The question isn't whether moringa works. Decades of peer-reviewed research answer that. The more interesting question is why most of the world doesn't know about it. And that answer turns out to be genuinely fascinating. The first reason is geography. Moringa is a tropical and subtropical plant. It thrives in heat and doesn't survive hard freezes. Most of the regions where it grows naturally and abundantly are in Africa, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Commercial infrastructure to process and export fresh moringa leaves to colder regions simply doesn't exist at scale yet. The second reason is how the modern food industry works. Moringa's nutritional power drops significantly when it is heavily processed or exposed to high heat. The fresh leaf is the most potent form, and fresh perishable leaves from a tropical plant are difficult and expensive to ship globally. The food industry builds supply chains around shelf-stable commodities: corn, soy, wheat. Moringa simply doesn't fit that model. The third reason is economic. The regions where moringa grows most abundantly tend to have the least purchasing power. Global agricultural investment follows money. Crops that feed wealthy consumer markets get research funding, development, and marketing budgets. Crops that could feed communities with limited purchasing power get overlooked. This isn't a conspiracy. It's just the uncomfortable reality of how global food economics work. What's interesting is that moringa powder and moringa supplements have been quietly growing in the Western health food market for years. The supplement industry discovered it. But a moringa supplement costs money every month. A moringa plant in your garden costs nothing after the first season. And that brings us to the most empowering part of this entire conversation. You don't need a supply chain. You don't need a health food store. If you live in the right climate, or even if you don't, you can grow your own moringa. And that changes everything. Let's talk about exactly how to do that. Moringa grows as a permanent perennial in USDA hardiness zones 9 through 11. That covers Florida, Southern California, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Hawaii, and similar warm climates. In zones 7 and 8, it can be grown as a seasonal annual or brought indoors before the first frost. In colder zones, it grows very successfully in large containers that you bring inside for winter. One important note before you plant. Some U.S. states classify moringa as potentially invasive and have specific regulations around outdoor cultivation. Always check with your local agricultural extension office before planting in the ground outside. Rules vary by state and county. Moringa is completely legal to buy, consume, and grow in containers everywhere, but outdoor planting rules are worth checking first. Growing conditions. Moringa is refreshingly undemanding. It wants full sun, the more the better. It actually prefers slightly poor, well-draining soil. Rich, fertile soil makes it grow too fast and produce weaker branches. Once established, it handles drought remarkably well. It is genuinely one of the most forgiving plants you can grow. You can start moringa from seeds or from stem cuttings. Seeds germinate in 1 to 2 weeks in warm soil. A cutting taken from a mature tree will root within a few weeks when placed in moist, well-draining soil. Either method works well. Cuttings give you a head start. Seeds give you a stronger root system long-term. In a warm climate, by the end of its first growing season, a moringa plant can easily reach 6 to 10 feet tall and begin producing harvestable leaves. The growth rate is genuinely impressive. This is not a plant that makes you wait years to see results. Harvesting is simple. You regularly trim the branch tips, and this is actually beneficial for the plant. Frequent trimming encourages moringa to grow bushier, produce more branches, and ultimately more leaves. The more you harvest, the more it produces. A well-managed moringa can be harvested weekly during peak growing season. The leaves can be eaten fresh in salads where they taste mildly peppery, similar to arugula. Blended into smoothies where you barely notice them. Cooked into soups, curries, and stir-fries where they become mild and blend into the dish. Or dried and ground into powder for long-term storage. Every preparation works. Every preparation is nutritious. And moringa gives you far more than just leaves. The long seed pods taste similar to asparagus when cooked young. The flowers are edible and slightly sweet. The roots have a sharp, horseradish-like flavor. The seeds produce a high-quality cooking and cosmetic oil. It really is an entire food system growing from a single trunk. Quick question for you. Have you ever grown moringa or eaten it in any form? Drop it in the comments right now. I genuinely want to know how many of you already have this plant growing and what your experience has been. And if you haven't tried it yet, after everything we just covered, would you? Moringa oleifera. More iron than beef. More calcium than milk. 9 times more vitamin A than carrots. A complete plant protein with all 9 essential amino acids. Used by ancient civilizations for 5,000 years. Backed by modern peer-reviewed science. And growable in your own backyard. 5,000 years of human wisdom knew about this plant. Now you do too. And knowledge like this is only valuable if you share it. If this video taught you something genuinely useful, pass it on to someone who would want to know. Subscribe to Famine Plant Secrets for a brand new plant deep dive every single week.